do so.
So, as Professor said, my name is Neil Schwartz, and I'm president of SBRnet. SBRnet stands for Sports Business Research Network, and I am lucky enough to have a great relationship with a number of the people in the sports management department. Most notably, Tim Koba was my first kind of entry there. Professor Koba is a great guy. I've been in his classes like 4 or 5 times already. So I'm hoping to make this a regular attraction for professors' classes. And hopefully we'll have some fun and we'll talk about a number of different things. But so as you said, I'm president of SBRnet. Just to let you know, we're going to divide the day kind of into 3 or 4 sections. Professor, how long do I have?
You have about an hour, Neil.
Yeah, I'm hopefully not going to take up the whole hour, maybe 40, 45 minutes. But we'll see. I hate to stop something that's going really well. So just to let you know though a little bit about what we're going to talk about. I'm going to share something right now. Want to make sure everybody can see it when they can see it. We'll go this way. Let me know if you can see the PowerPoint that's up on the screen right now.
Yes.
Excellent. So again, my company is SBRnet. It stands for Sports Business Research Network. We are the exclusive providers of a platform called Sports Market Analytics. And as Professor said, it is a great one-stop shop for really all things related to the sports, the business side of sports. So whether it's selling tickets, selling sponsorships, determining, brand affiliations, putting butts in seats, you name it. Our data is focused on the business of sports. But what I like to really focus on is the process of what I like to call data-driven decision making. And that is using data or using facts as the basis for making a decision. Now, I'm curious about a couple of things here. How many of you in the classroom, by show of hands, are hoping to make the sports business your future employment? Me? That's good. How many of you, just narrow it down, how many of you have had any experience working on the business side of sports? Have any of you done any sort of maybe work on a game day project or work for a team, on something or internship or anything? Have you done anything yet? All right, that's cool. Oh, I see a young lady in front. What did you do? What did you work on? I'm curious.
I did an internship at Madison Square Garden for the Knicks and Rangers.
Wow. What'd you do?
Sponsorships.
Talk about starting in the big leagues.
Yes. I did it during the summer, so it was off season, so it wasn't too busy, but it was kind of just like wrapping up end of the year deals, getting ready for the season, of creating like activations, where they're going to go in the arena, like what DEDs they're going to get, kind of all of that, setting up for the season. It was like a lot of communication, and just figuring out like deals.
Did you like it?
I loved it.
You did. Yeah, the sports business is a lot of fun. I have to tell you, I personally have almost 25 years of experience in the sports business, all of it on the side of marketing research. So I have really, let's just say, I love the sports business. And I will tell you just right at the top of the day today that if you can't have fun and you can't love the sports business, you got to find something else to do, because there's nothing else, in my opinion, more fun than sports. Whether it's about winning, losing, whether it's about cheering, whether it's about supporting your favorite teams, whether it's about buying your favorite licensed merch, whatever it's about, if you can't have fun in sports, I got news for you. You got to find something else to do where you can have fun, because the one thing people always say to me is, Neil, you always look like you're having fun. And I say, that's why it never seems like work to me. What I do to me is fun. And look, if I can bring some knowledge and bring some information and bring something to you all at the same time, well, that's a good little benefit for me. Hang on for a second. So just to give you an idea, I have over 2 decades, actually over 25 years of experience in the sports business. I'm not just some guy that they kind of brought in off the street here. 4 years ago, I bought SBRnet. I had been in the data business for quite some time, working in all areas of the sports business with brands, with teams, with leagues, with associations, with cities, and bringing in events. I've been involved with brands like Under Armour, Adidas, Skechers. I can go on running, most notably lately. Um, but my area really focuses on the business side of sports. I'm not really much on what I would call on field or team performance. That's not really what I'm all about. That's for a whole different level of let's say analysts or fans or things like that. I'm more all about the business of sports, generating revenue, generating money, putting more butts in seats, things like that. So my company, SBRnet, we are kind of a one-stop shop, as I mentioned, and we're going to show you the platform today. We're going to talk a little bit about data. We're going to talk a little bit about process. I will tell you, I'm a big process guy because if you understand the process, you'll know how to get to the destination. It's like the GPS or the nav in your car or on your phone. If you know where you want to get to, you can program in where you want to get to, and then the nav will give you the instructions. Well, that's what data can do. Data is like a nav for the sports business. It gives you instruction, it gives you direction, it gives you a plan. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Professor, talk to me a little bit about what was the name of that project? Project?
Neil, it is called the Panther Experience, and
Got it.
it's a virtual effort in starting from scratch, marketing and promoting a actual event here with the High Point Panthers. We used to do it for real, but we have a good problem. We have so many people that giving them worthwhile occupations in that short of a time frame proved to be a little bit difficult. So we're doing it virtually, but it is a real world worthy exercise.
So the Panther Experience is was an interesting, let's say, goal or an interesting strategy or an interesting topic because number one, it's not an area that I really know a lot about. I mean, we cover 19 sports across 65 categories of data with a lot of historical data. Everything from fan demographics to, what they watch. Do they play fantasy? What do they gamble on? What do they buy? Where do they travel? How do they watch? The differences between streaming and regular TV. Out of curiosity, how many of you are watching sporting events via streaming right now? I mean, or as a general rule. How many of you are watching via traditional TV? So that'd be cable, satellite, that sort of thing. Almost nobody. Well, a couple. So it's like the mostly streaming, which in fact it is mostly streaming. But right now we are just seeing a revolution going on in the sports business when it comes to streaming. In fact, if it wasn't for streaming, Major League Baseball right now would be in huge trouble. But streaming really has presented a lot of great opportunities. And in fact, as Professor alluded to, I did an analysis of whether I thought the NFL's decision 2 weeks ago to exclusively put one of their playoff games on the streaming network Peacock would work or not. And using data, using a process, using a little bit of experience and understanding how to use data, I was able to come up with a conclusion. By the way, my conclusion was positive. Yes, I did feel that while it was not going to be good for fans like me, I'm a Miami Dolphin fan, and they lost, of course, but I felt that it would be good for the Peacock service. But again, SBRnet is a one-stop shop for all things data related to the business of sports. Professor, it sounded like you had something you wanted to add.
Yeah, Chris is also a Miami Dolphins fan. He plays all sides of the fence.
I see. Who is, just out of curiosity, let's do a quick survey here. Who was rooting for the Kansas City Chiefs yesterday? Who was rooting for the Buffalo Bills? Wow, overwhelming. How about the Detroit Lions? I am on the Lion bandwagon, by the way. How about who's the Lions? Oh, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Nobody. Oh, wonderful. Well, we just did some research, guys, and we just found out, who's rooting for whom. But the focus of what I want to talk about is: are you data driven? Because telling a story with insights and data really brings things to life. It will really get people to sit up and listen because you're using facts as opposed to anecdotal data. You know, a quick example I like to give is that one of my interns a couple of months ago went for a job interview, and with this, I don't know how many of you are MLS fans? Major League Soccer. So there's a second team in the city of New York called the New York City Football Club, New York FC. They're not the Red Bulls. They don't have anywhere near the size of a fan base. They really are, you know, more of like a startup as opposed to the juggernaut, the Red Bulls. But so he went for an interview with the assistant general manager, and during the interview, you know, they're talking, and it's for an internship. And during the interview, he pulls out a bunch of data from SBRnet that he had turned into graphs and charts, and he showed it to the assistant general manager. The assistant general manager stops the interview, walks around the other side of the desk, sits across from David, his name is David, and says, "Where'd you get this data? Tell me how you came to these conclusions. Tell me what sort of analysis you did in order to help you get there." He was so impressed by David. Not only did they offer David a job as assistant general manager for the business side of the business, but they also subscribe to my data. So data really has the ability to inspire, brings things to life. It can be strategic, it can be targeted, it can really tell you whatever it is you need to know. But the biggest thing I always like to talk about data is it allows you to answer a lot of the tough questions. And usually tough questions in our business start with who, what, when, where, why, and how. The how being the last question I ask because that's a sometimes tough one. Why is also a toughie, by the way. But again, it allows you to be data-driven and inspire and use data to tell a story. Now, as far as accessing SBRnet, the school, as Professor alluded to, does have access to it. I'm going to switch screens right now. At least I hope I am. It's always a crapshoot sometimes. There we go. Are we seeing my screen in front?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. So this is SBRnet. You access this by going to your library website and typing in either Sports Market Analytics or SBRnet. It will bring you here. When you get there, it'll say, "Welcome, High Point University." If it doesn't say that, you've got an issue, you're not logged in, you probably need to reach out to someone in the library, or you know what, don't be afraid to drop me an email, I don't mind. But that gets you into the data. You all have a subscription to all of the data that we offer on SBRnet, and we offer a lot. And at the end, I'm going to also ask you to maybe help me out a little bit, and that is to support us on social media, but that's coming up right now. But our goal here is to provide you with a source of data, to provide you with a source of information, a source of content, a source of materials to help you get a job. I mean, geez, your parents are hoping you're going to get a job in the sports business, so I want to help support their issue. I'm a parent. I'm even a grandparent. So we're going to be able to walk through the data. We're going to walk through all different things here. This is the homepage. I would recommend when you get some time, go on SBRnet, just kind of cruise around a little bit. Look at what we offer. Up here, we're going to talk a little bit about data. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the other things that are available. We've got some highlighted areas. We've got our own blog. I talked a little bit about, this was the class that I put up on the blog last Thursday that I did for Professor Koba. Have any of you been in Professor Koba's classes, by the way, yet? Have we met? Have you been in any of the classes that I've taught for Professor Koba?
Yes.
What's your first name?
Brady.
Oh, yeah, Brady, I remember. Sure. So, for you, some of this might be a little bit redundant. But, we've got a lot of great things here on the, on the site. I highly recommend you come over here and all that. But I'm going to put this back away for a second. So now that you know how to access the site, I want to talk a little bit about the first thing, and that is process. Process, navigation. Process equals navigation. What does navigation equal? It equals getting you to where you want to be. In this case, we want to be at Uh-oh, I forgot the name of the project again.
Panther Experience.
Thank you. You know, you think I would write that down, but you know
No
what?
worries.
I am gonna write it down. But I'm getting old, kids. So the Panther Experience. What is the Panther Experience, Professor?
It is a start from scratch marketing effort to replicate a real life environment at an organization. We started out with researching target demographics, get a virtual budget of $2,000, which ain't much, but they have to go ahead and promote and market and actually run an actual High Point University Panther athletic event, Division One quality, be it a basketball game, a lacrosse match, from scratch, market everything, promote everything. We do it on a virtual basis, Neil, but I'm going to insist that it bears real life capacity and capability.
Well, first of all, I love real life experience versus just kind of that made up experience. So I think this number one professor has put you in an opportunity to get some real life experience. And by the way, note this real life experience can go on your resumes when you're ready to start looking for an internship or a job, or when one of you maybe approaches me about a summer internship or something like that, because I do hire interns. So, you know, just kind of pay attention here. This is a real life project, real life scenario. It might be a microcosm or a model of what you would be working with in the future. But let's talk a little bit about the process. A data-driven approach, first and foremost, has the ability to inspire. It has the ability to inspire the people on the other side of the desk to want to do or to want to do, you know, want to implement what it is that you're trying to talk about. Inspiration is a huge part of motivation. It's a huge part of persuasion. It's a huge part of interaction. It's inspiration. It's having that inspired view, and data can help you get there. It allows you to focus on what is important. You don't want to focus on things that aren't important, because all that's going to do is distract. It's not going to inspire. It allows you to focus on what's important. So for the Panther experience, you know, and I'm not looking for a right or wrong answer here, what might be an important aspect of it? Does anybody want to take a shot at it?
I'll be
Anybody?
fair, Neil, we haven't exactly introduced that component.
Okay. So
But I can
I'll ask and answer my own question then. How's that? So focusing on what important is might be putting people in seats, bringing in more fans.
exactly.
You know, understanding what the fans are now. You know, and you know, and you know, it might mean that you might have to go to a game of some sort. You might have to go to a Panther basketball game, or you might have to go to another Panther event to see what kind of fans are in the stands.
Hey, Neil, we're doing that. We're going to do a SWOT analysis of that exact thing. So you're right on it.
Okay, great. When are you doing it?
The SWOT is the next thing on the agenda. So in the
Got
next
it.
couple weeks.
And the interesting thing is the SWOT analysis is one of my favorite things. Look, I graduated Syracuse, and I'm not going to say what year I graduated with a degree in business and communications. And, you know, in my very first marketing class, the professor introduced the SWOT analysis. And, you know, we're talking a long time ago, but I still use it today. I still use the SWOT analysis today. It's very rare that I don't go through the process, whether it is a formal SWOT analysis or a mental SWOT analysis, when I'm looking at a particular problem, a situation, a marketing campaign, I'm looking to acquire a new piece of business, whatever it might be. It's very rare that I don't use the framework of the SWOT analysis, because frankly, the SWOT analysis tells you everything you need to know before you're ready to make a move. Strengths, what are my strengths? Weaknesses, where am I weak? Opportunities, where can I look at the horizon? And then threats, what's coming up on my back that I need to worry about? But again, data is the ability to inspire. It allows you to focus on what's important. It allows you to see the market and the bigger picture. By the way, we're going to look at the bigger picture today, because frankly, I don't have a whole lot of little picture data when it comes to High Point Panther basketball. While I do have information on the top 50 universities in their college basketball programs, High Point does not fit. I believe you guys are a mid-market major or major mid-market or something like that.
We're called
So,
yeah.
Mid-major. So we only have, but that information is going to give you a bigger picture view of what's going on. And when you go to the game, what I want you to do is, after we look at some of the big picture things today, I want you to think to yourself, well, it looks like college basketball is 70% male in terms of fans versus like 25%, 23% women. What is it here? Is High Point doing better or worse? Because I love to benchmark and measure, and we're going to get into that a little bit more also. But it lets you focus on changing market conditions. Look, there's a lot changing. I talked earlier in the presentation about streaming. Streaming media will be the savior of the sports business, especially for team sports. Because right now, your generation are glued to your phones and your devices and not so much tethered to the TV or like I am. I still watch most of my sports on my traditional TV via, we'll call it cable or satellite or whatever you want to call it. But I watch occasionally during streaming, but I don't watch a lot of streaming sports. Although I did watch the Peacock game on, the Dolphin game on Peacock last week. It was a bummer. But again, when you're working with data, it allows you to be able to create. It allows you to plan. It allows you to confirm. It allows you to refute and allows you to present. So these things are all super important when it comes to developing a marketing plan. One of the slides I forgot to put in is one of the things I talked about in Professor Koba's class. One of the most important things for me when I look at data is I always want to understand what is the most important KPI. KPI stands for Key Performance Indicator. This is how I'm going to keep score. If you want to know if your Panther experience strategy or is going to be successful, what is the KPI that you are going to use to measure success? For instance, for Peacock, the KPI that they use that measures success of their plan of paying $110 million to the NFL for one playoff game is, did I end up with more subscribers than I started with? And how many did I end up with? That's their KPI or key performance indicator. But what they also wanted to do was they want to benchmark. Hey, I want to see what some of the other streaming networks have done when they have added, let's say, the NFL. In this case, the one that I used as an example was when Amazon added Thursday Night Football. I benchmarked what Peacock did against what Amazon and the NFL did with Thursday Night Football. Are they exactly the same? No. But were they close enough to give me a benchmark? The answer is yes. Because once you are able to benchmark, you're then able to measure. And one of the other things I learned very early on, I think I learned this in school also, but you can't monitor what you can't measure. So when you're developing your Panther experience strategy, make sure that success is measurable. Decide what KPI is going to be more important. If you want to bring more women, let's say, to the events because you think there's an opportunity there, have a mechanism that allows you to be able to measure more women at the games. If you want to bring a new sponsor to the table, again, make sure you've got a way to be able to measure what that sponsor brings in terms of revenue or in terms of excitement. Professor, is what I'm saying so far making sense?
Absolutely. I have not had a KPI to my syllabus here, but I'm educating myself on the specifics. Thank you for sharing that. So that's what I'm looking up right now.
So KPIs are really important. I mean, there's just so many, whenever I talk to teams and leagues and, the expression KPI comes up a lot. There's a lot of expressions that come up. Now, as we're going through this, I just want to let you know, number one, I'm mostly here to help demystify the situation or demystify the process of using data. look, I am not a data scientist, not even close. And I know you're not, most of you are not going to be or want to be data scientists or, applied mathematical or applied statistic experts. I'm not either, frankly. Do I know how to use Excel pretty well? The answer is yes. Do I know how to get a lot out of it? The answer is yes. Do I know how to look at data and understand what it says? Answer is yes. And that's what I'm hoping to really help with you in this case. And you know what? Professor might invite me back. In fact, I'm hoping he does. I don't want to be a one-hit wonder in this class. I'd like to make a return appearance and, find out what we've learned and what you've accomplished and what you've been recommending as far as the Panther experience.
Great.
But in this case, yes.
No, that's a great. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're going to identify the situation we already did with the Panther experience. Have any of you been to a High Point basketball game this year?
Keza,
All right. Brady, did I see your hand up, Brady?
Yes.
Brady, tell me about your experience at the game. What did you see? What did you learn? What did you see that was good? What did you see that was bad?
Well, I've been to multiple games, and I've seen a difference. Sometimes the seats are more filled than others. So the environment is different. If it's more full, then I feel like both teams get more into the game, and it livens the experience for the fans. As to when it's not full, the experience is completely different.
Why do you think, let's say, what makes for a more full stadium? Is it because it's a better team, let's say, coming in, or what do you think it is?
I think that if the team we're playing is good, then that will bring more people. But also, I think if our team is doing well, then that will encourage more people to come because they want to see the team play.
That makes a lot of sense. Great. Thank you for contributing. I appreciate that. But what we're looking, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We have some cycles with college basketball because we do have the holiday season that takes away a lot of our student body. So
Right.
there were times when we didn't have either the crowd or the amenities, the festival atmosphere, because the band wasn't there, the spirit squads weren't there. So a lot of, and Brady's exactly right. That has an enormous impact on the overall energy in that building.
But it doesn't mean you can't overcome, that would be in that SWOT analysis, that would be both a threat and a potential opportunity. By the way, things can be both. They can be two of anything. But, you want to try to narrow things down. But, again, we're looking here at a mid-market team trying to look to put some butts in seats. I know that's kind of a, crass way to put it, but it's true. It's the way our business refers to it. The thing that's going to be interesting here is that when you don't have first-party data, which we do not have specific to High Point University, what strategy can you use? How would you use data to tell a story when you don't have what they call first-party data? So what we're going to do is we're going to get involved in these other steps here about understanding the issues, the challenges, the market. We're going to learn how to choose a little bit of data. We're going to learn how to organize and clean it. Now, look, again, I am not expecting any of you to come out of this thing as a data scientist. It's just not what you're going to need. Or it's not what I'm expecting, or professor. But what we are expecting is that you're going to know when you look at a piece of data, how to read it. Is it in thousands or is it in millions? Is it showing growth or is it showing attrition or churn or lack of growth? We're going to look at how to create a simple chart or graph. You know that old expression that one picture can be worth 1,000 words? You know what? It's true. A really good graph, a really good graphic orientation can really tell and can give you some insights. And then if you can generate multiple insights, you can tell a story. Frankly, that's what has separated me over the years in my career. Not that I've been this great data analyst, because I'm not. I'm just not. But what I am is someone that knows how to look at data and tell a story. keep people engaged, keep people focused, keep people understanding exactly what it is that they need to know. So we're going to go right now to the site. So you've got a project, you've got a plan, you've got an idea. We're going to go to the first. We're going to go to the first place I'm going to send you. The first place I'm going to send you on my site, and I'm going to go to it right now. Give me a second. I'm going to send you to my site. Is it up on the screen? And is it visualable? I just made that word up, by the way. Can everybody see it? Good. Somebody nodded back and forth. That was good. So what I like to do is I like to start here in the center. I like to go all the way over here to the upper right-hand corner. And I like to start, we have a search feature. It's not Google, it's not ChatGPT, it's our own search feature. And what is it made up of? I have a group of analysts who work for me that every day they spend at least an hour a day combing all of the sports and business publications to find relevant articles to make your job easier. In this case, I'll start really broad and type in college basketball. You can use this just like you use Google, by the way. Start broad, narrow it down, do a little bit of investigation. So what do we see? So the articles that come up related to that topic come up on the left-hand side where it says relevant articles. So what do we have? We have an article from the 11th of January that Mikey Williams should not have entered the transfer portal, but I get it. You know, probably not related to what you're doing. But here's an interesting one. So in December, Buffalo will host the USCAA basketball small college national championships. Now, here's an interesting idea. You know, maybe read up and see what this is all about. Understand exactly what they're talking about and how they're going to implement this and what they're going to do. I will tell you that the best ideas are generally not 100% original ideas. It's usually a spin-off of something else somebody came up with. But here, again, I do the legwork for you. Here's another article. Social media sports trolls strike again in D2 hoop game. I have no idea what that was about. But that came from Deadspin. And again, it gives you a little bit of an idea about what's going on in the marketplace. You know, remember I talked about the bigger picture? This is where you can get some good big picture kind of analysis or a big picture comments. But where do you go next? I recommend you go up here into what we call our summary section. And I recommend you go into over here to our right side to what they call our single sport summaries. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what we do here. I am going right here. At least I hope I am. Nah, I'll use this better. Hang on. Currently, SBRnet measures sports fans across 19 different sports. College, professional, team sports, individual sports, minor league sports. We have multiple years of data. But what is really amazing, we have over 65 separate categories of data. Each sport, and this is overwhelming to me, has over 300,000 data points attached to it. So there's so much information. Guess what? You do not need to worry about all of this information. You just need to worry about what you think is most important or most relevant in your specific situation. So I'm going to first go to the summaries, and I'm going to go to the single sport summaries. Look, I've been talking a little bit about High Point University. When it comes to college sports, we only measure college basketball and college football. Now, this year, we will have some more women's sports locked in, but right now, this is what we have. So let's go to college basketball. So what am I looking at here? What I'm looking at here are the number of fans, excuse me, of college basketball, and by the way, it's substantial, since 2015. These numbers are represented in millions, not thousands. As you can see, there it says add 3 zeros. Add 3 zeros. Anytime you see a whole number in my data, add 3 zeros. So in this case, in 2015, college basketball had approximately 71,451,000 fans, according to our annual study of sports fans. Wow. Hope I'm not getting a cold. And as you can see, that number has gone up. What's the number? Florida Gator guy, I forgot your first name.
Chris?
Chris, how would you read that number for 2022 in terms of the number of fans? Can you see it?
62,000.
Let me make it bigger. Can you see that better?
Yeah, 82,493.
No. What did I say? Read all data in what? Millions.
Oh, million. Oh, my bad.
Add 3 zeros onto every whole number that you're looking at when it comes to data in SBRnet. This section here allows you to cherry pick from a number of categories that, by the way, I have picked. So this is I own the company. I get to select. So here we looked at total fans. Now, in 2020, we did not measure live attendance because there was no live attendance. We were all watching games, if they were playing at all, on TV with no fans. So again, there was no live attendance. We opted not to measure that particular area because we felt it would corrupt the data too much. But what do we know? We know that in 2015, there were 10,716,000 fans that attended games. And in 2022, that number jumped up to 11,976,000. So in 2022, college football reached an all-time high with respect to attendance. Does anybody know what, how a High Point does when it comes to attendance? Could you go on the High Point University website and probably find out that information?
Yep.
Probably could. That would be a great starting point to know. You know that college basketball attendance is growing, and in fact, it grew substantially from 2019 to 2022, grew from 2021 substantially to 2020. Did High Point University grow too? Remember what I said? Pick the KPI, benchmark it, measure it. Now, below it, you see a number of things called percent of attendees who attended. Now, we can look at people that attended 2 to 4 times a year, or people that attended 5 or more times a year. Now, what do we see? This is where streaming has become an issue. The number of people who have attended 2 to 4 times, look back in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, even 2019. They were all in a 60% range, as high as 76%. Remember, percents are percents. But now look, in 2022, only 46.6% of college football fans attended 2 to 4 games a year. So do you think streaming has been good for live attendance or streaming has been bad for live attendance? Go ahead, just blurt it out, whoever wants to answer it. Anybody?
Bad.
It's been bad for live attendance. It's been good for sports overall, bigger picture, but it's been bad for live attendance. Look at the number of people who have attended 5 plus times a year. That's really taken a dive. So again, you want to look and understand the trends. One of the things Professor talked about early on today was targeting. Demographics. Remember I said, tough questions. Who, what, when, where, why, how? Well, one of the answers you want to ask in who is, what are the demographics for a particular sport? What aspect of the sport is growing? Now, most of you, in fact, all of you, I'm sure, are Gen Z. Okay, Gen Z are basically 13 to 30-year-olds, for lack of a better definition. So, you want to look and see, are we growing among younger fans? When you go to a game, do you only mostly see students or do you see alumni? Do you see older fans? What percent broken down by male, female? By the way, I do believe this is an opportunity that we're going to talk about, maybe even next. Ethnically, we can look across ethnic groups, whether it's Caucasian, Hispanic, African American, other total. But again, we'll total. We get to the totals because there are people of mixed race who identify of two. So it's not because there's something, there's Martian here or something else like that. We can look at incomes, we can look at geographic regions, we can look at a variety of different things. So you can look at a variety of different data. But now let's get a little bit more detailed. And by the way, anything that you see here, you could easily just highlight it and either export it to Excel or copy and paste it into Excel. Okay, so don't be shy about exporting the data. Don't try to, you don't need to be a hero. This all goes right into Excel. Let's go back to let's go back to another section. So I've done a little work. I know kind of a little bit about college basketball. I know that attendance is down, is up, but it's up a little bit. I know that total fans are up. I know a little bit. I know a little bit to be dangerous, as I like to say. So let's get into some area called our fan studies. Now, our fan studies is where you locate the detailed data. And Brady, I think you've used some of this data in previous Professor Koba's class. Well, we're going to look at it here. In this case, we're going to look at college basketball, over here, fan studies. And in this case, we're going to pick out the newest one, which luckily I already have downloaded and here somewhere. Let's see here. Give me a second, please. There we go. College basketball. So all of that data that we were looking at before is all located right here. It's already in an Excel spreadsheet, and I want to show you a couple of things. I'm looking at the time. So I max out at about 10:15, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'll stop then. I love when I get rolling, it's hard to stop me sometimes. It's very important that you understand where this data is coming from. It's coming from an annual study of sports fans that my company does every year. I will tell you that if I'm invited back and you're giving presentations in front of me and I ask one of you, where does this data come from? You better know. Because nothing is more embarrassing. Nothing will crush your credibility when you're standing in front of an executive or you're standing in front of a professor and he says or she says, hey, where does this data come from that you're quoting? And you don't know. It's super important that you know. Again, these are all of the data points that we currently have on the site. I'm going to make it bigger. I know it's too small. But again, pick out the data points you want to work with. Maybe one of the things you want to work with is you want to work with social media. You know what? I'm just going to focus on social media. Well, that's fine. Because here, what you can do is we're looking at college basketball only. And here, remember that number I had? The total. Can we see that? Is that okay? Do I need to make it even bigger?
I think it's okay, Neil.
There's always a guy out there blowing leads whenever I'm talking. It's unbelievable.
Same thing here.
I can't. What's that? You can't hear it?
Yeah.
I can't get him to work 5 days a week, but when I'm on the phone doing a call, I can get him to work. So again, 82,493,000 fans, 54 million and change male, 28 million female. Breaks down to 66-34. So maybe you're thinking, maybe there's an opportunity to bring more women to the games. And how will I do it? Well, maybe one way is I want to look at social media because I want to understand which social media platforms are the ones that are most attractive to female college basketball fans versus male college basketball fans. You could literally copy and paste this data out, put it into a separate tab, a separate Excel sheet, and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We want to bring in more women fans. We've determined that there's an opportunity. Went to a game, didn't, we know that it's around a 67-32 split, male versus female in general. But at High Point, we see it's like 75% male, less women. Women are our new target audience, who we want to go after. So maybe what we want to do is we want to look and see what are those social media platforms that we want to focus on in order to get more women to come to High Point University basketball game. Does that make sense to everybody? Pick your data. Keep it simple. Don't try to be a hero and overdo it. Don't try to hit the ball out of the park. Just pick one data point, one area of data where you think you want to focus and go after that. From a targeting standpoint, you might want to understand, the numbers in terms of, when it comes to total, attendance or total percentages. Look, college basketball continues to do well among, slightly older fans, but not as well among younger fans who are actually in college. So, again, you might want to understand, we want to go after, maybe you want to go after more high school kids, because give them a little bit of the college experience before they go to college.
Hey, Neil,
I mean, what's that?
can I ask an ignorant question? The
Sure.
numbers in red at the bottom of the segmented
Yeah.
what are those numbers?
Yes. Okay. I was hoping you wouldn't mention it, but I'm glad you did. Okay. So what we've done is that, remember I said in the beginning that you want to be able to benchmark and measure KPIs? That number in red is what they call an index. An index is a comparison to the benchmark. So for instance, let's look on the very first line where it says attended at least once. Do you see line 12, everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so line 12 measures attended at least once. So we know there's 11,976,000 fans have attended once, 8.1 million men, 3.8 million women. We know it breaks down, to 67-32. So the red number is telling you that men are more likely to be going to college basketball games than women. The average is 100%. So if you're at 103, you're averaging 3% better. I got news for you. If you go way across, when you look at the indexes for, let's say, younger fans, remember I said there's not as many? But guess what? They index much higher than the average. That's a good thing. I like to use, I guess it would be indices, but I heard yesterday you can use indexes also, by the way. So I like to use indexes or indices as a direction tool. Oh, look at that. There may not be as many young people coming to the games, but they're more likely than the average. Let me use that as one of my, so the red numbers are the indexes.
Thanks, Neil.
So again, there's an awful lot of data here, an awful lot of things that you can do with it. Don't get overwhelmed because it's easy to do. Now, another thing I want to show you also is you have access to what we call our premium level data, which actually takes the data down to a team by team level. Remember I said earlier, unfortunately, it does not. High Point is not one of the schools that we measure because, frankly, you are out of the top 50. But doesn't mean you couldn't take a school close by. I don't know. Wake Forest, they're here somewhere. Here they are. You know, you couldn't use Wake Forest maybe as a proxy, you know, in terms of understanding college basketball fans in that area. Now, I know Wake Forest doesn't play. I don't think they do. I looked at the schedule. I didn't see them. But, you know, that's another way to really also help your campaign and your program is look at the away team schedule. Maybe you do have a game against one of the bigger schools that you could take a look at and use as an example. So, again, this data offers you a lot of different ways to work, a lot of different opportunities. I want to show three things real quickly, and then I'll ask for some questions if you have them. There's an area on our site called the Resource Center. I just clicked on it. Here, we provide you with a list of podcasts. If you're serious about a job in sports, pick out one you like and listen to it. And if it happens to be mine, called My First Job in Sports, I wouldn't be unhappy about that. Because what that does is, what we're doing is we're helping you understand what it takes to get a job by listening to what others who have a job have done. You know, we've got top people to follow on social media. Pick out a group of people on social media. Pick out somebody. You know, I love to follow Alex Silverman. He's actually now at Forbes, I think, Sports Money. He was at Morning Consult. I got to fix that. But again, pick out somebody. Doesn't have to be a lot of people, you know, but there's just a lot of different things. There's nothing here that you can break. I promise you. So a lot of great data, a lot of great information to use, learning how to use it. And what I'm asking for now, I'm coming up on the end, is I would really love it if you would follow us on social media. LinkedIn, just SBRnet, type in the search bar, it'll come up. Instagram, it's SBRnet data, but if you type in SBRnet, it'll come up. Twitter, X, I don't know what the heck's going on over there. But again, we're RNSB. Again, if you type in SBRnet, we'd love for you to follow us on social media. Why? Because on social media, what we're doing is we are posting an awful lot of ideas and ways that you are able to access data. As an example, let me go back to the homepage for a second. Remember early on, we talked a little bit about the Peacock, and I used that example, by the way, in Professor Koba's class last week. And it's taken a little bit more time than I would like. Come on. There we go. So here was an article I did here. Dolphins Chief game to be shown exclusively on Peacock. So here, again, I talked about how I use the data in order to be able to define that or to prove it or to disprove it. So again, follow us. We've got a lot of good things coming out. This will end up, by the way, on social media, so you will all be on it at some point, you know, whether you love it or not. Because I've really appreciated that as me in Europe. I have really appreciated the opportunity to be in class today. I want to thank Professor for inviting me. Are there any questions? None? Nobody wants my email or anything to maybe send me a resume next summer for a job? No? Oh, well. Well, Professor Scott knows how to reach me. He knows where I am. It has been, honest to goodness, pleasure today to be with everybody. Professor Scott, do you have any last minute kind of questions or anything you kind of want to add to all that I've said today?
No, and I want to thank you very much. You have provided a living resource that will continue to change and keep us up to date. So this is a wonderful service that you're providing through the university. So thank you very much. And thank you for being personally available to them, because that's what we pride ourselves here at High Point University, which is why you are always welcome back in my classes, Mr. Schwartz. Thank you. Thank you, Neil.
My pleasure. It's always, I always love, I do love speaking to class. I do love coming into class. Hopefully we're going to have a chance to interact again in the not so distant future. But again, look, I will be honest with you. I love sports. And if it did not come through today, then I did something wrong. I love sports. I do. I love talking about it. I love being involved with it. And hopefully you'll feel the same way and want to make sports your your future employment. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Neil. I'll be in touch, my friend, but thank you very much. Now go get that leaf
You're very
blower.
welcome.
Shut up. We have leaf blowers here all the time.